Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to The Truth, where today we're going to be talking about the Chicago Bears. Um, Look, Chicago is a team who has done some signings. We've kind of talked about a lot of them before, but I'll get into it in a little bit. They do have some nice caps, so we will be talking about that. The one thing I want to talk about Chicago, which is really interesting for them and which I think they might be a trade back team, is because they only have 4 picks in this draft. Pick 1, pick 9, pick 75, and pick 122. They don't have enough to fill all the positions that they still need and have picks. And ideally, you don't want UDFAs there. So, I mean, yes, theoretically they could fill them with cap, which we will attempt to do, but it's not in the best position. So, kind of getting into, I thought this might be a smart idea. I'm just kind of like wanting to see what you guys think about this. If I pull it up on the news right here we go. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I can show you this. Some kind of showing you all this. So right here we can see all of the kind of signings that they had. Keenan Allen, Dante Pettis, kind of some vet minimums, Matt Pryor. Some key ones that I want to highlight real quickly. Kevin Byard, DeAndre Swift, Gerald Everett. If I can scroll up here, Keenan Allen. They traded Justin Fields. Those are some kind of big ones that are kind of like, okay, those are really going to shake up this team. And then if we go back to Cap Tracker, so I can pull up the Chicago Bears cap and what we're rocking with, we can see that they have $23,498,308. So there are some things we can play around with. Look, they still do need to, without going into the draft and trying to pick up free agency, like post draft, they still need a center, 2 linebackers, and a receiver. Going to scrap free agents, kind of looking around, seeing what we can find. And I do use ESPN as my official confirmation for free agent signings. So if you were wondering how I figured those out, that's what I use. One is center. And this is one I could see happening just because they do have the cap. And this is something I did talk about in my last video, is the potential signing of Connor Williams. He is a guy who's on the board who kind of changes things up, who's pretty good center. He's not a bad center. And he costs about $13.5 a year, which actually is really close to how much the Chicago Bears have. Like, it's like they'd still have roughly like just below $10 million. I think it's actually no, just about 10 million. They'd have like 9,992,308 in cap, because they are like 2,000 off from having just being able to cover this, or just roughly around cover this. But I mean, still though, I mean, like if that would be if you were to do that. But I don't know if they do that, just because center is more of a backup need for them. It kind of gets weird for them. Of course they're going to address quarterback in the draft. They might address receiver. Like they might address receiver in the draft, or they might go out and get a receiver and then draft a backup. Guard is still something on the board. Defensive tackle. Preferably, since they don't have a lot of picks and they have higher picks, I'd like to address as many needs as possible. So with that case, I will not be addressing the Connor Williams signing this year. But it is a possibility, and they would roughly have $9,992,000 in cap. So I do want to acknowledge that. That's something that would be nice to acknowledge, that is a very viable possibility. I understand if you're a Bears fan why you'd want to go after them. But getting into it, of course, I said quarterback. Receiver, though, that's a very viable option. They need depth and they need a starter. Guys who are available: Hunter Renfro, Allen Robinson, Odell, Michael Gallup, Tyler Boyd, Michael Thomas. There are a lot of guys who you could sign to fill up that receiver need. Odell, I don't think he's going to get 11 or 12. He could. I could see that, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to happen. I think 8 is honestly a solid option. Kind of just showing you, hey, Tyler Boyd's value, Sports Tracks think is 8.7. So that kind of puts you in perspective on some guys. Like Hunter Renfro, he's probably going to get 7 flat, maybe. Like guys like that. And Hunter Renfro would be a nice slot guy for you. For the Bears, I could see that just because you have DJ Moore, you've made trades and stuff. So I could see where you're going, and I think I will go Hunter Renfro just to add um, a nice slot presence that who yes you can put on the outside, but he's going to be a great route runner for you. I really do think that kind of diversifies their roster. And the one thing I also do want to add as well is Deontay Hardy. I've been a big fan of Deontay Hardy ever since he was in New Orleans. This guy is fast. He has some route moves, but he needs to work on it. But look, this guy, like when used right, can take a top off the defense. He is a really spectacular player. So I do want to also add that. But no, I do think right now, I think it's going to cost you around $7 million, maybe less. I think that's kind of a high for him. But $7 million puts you at do what, 16 million? Yeah, $16,498,308. And I also think Deontay Hardy will probably be a vet minimum, so about 1.2. And that fills out your receiving core very nicely. Like this is like a good receiving core. The one thing you also like about Deontay Hardy is he can be a really good return specialist, or kind of provide competition for that too if you want to. Like that's also, I could also see going with Cole Hardman too. I wouldn't be opposed to that idea either. I know they did lose Darnell Mooney, who was kind of that field stretcher. Deontay Hardy is exactly what that is, but just faster. Not the route running could be work. It could need some work, but 15,298,308 left, and you take out 2 needs right there. I feel like this is a really smart move if they were to go this way. I could also see them going maybe Gallup or Robinson or Thomas or Boyd. Like I could also see that. I don't know if they will go Thomas because Thomas is more of a contested guy. But I could see it. It's just he's a contested guy who's been injured a lot, and that's really tough to go outside, especially because you want reliable weapons for your new quarterback and most likely Caleb Williams. And then if I go look at it, there's guard who is also available. And man, they're just still sitting here. Lincoln Tomlinson, Andreas P, and Cody Whitehair are still sitting here, and it just keeps I think it keeps falling. I think I had them going at like what, 4 million. Like the longer and longer they sit here, it's just like the less and less I have feeling that they're going to actually sign like decent contracts. Because that value is still dropping. But I'll say right now, I'll still say 4 million. Whether you want Lincoln Tomlinson, Andres P, or Cody Whitehair, I think these are all good options. I mean, it'll only probably at most it'll cost you $4 million in cap, and that'll still be 11. I'll still put you at 11. 289, $308 left in cap, and that takes care of honestly a starting guard spot for you. Defensive tackle, I'm not the biggest fan of what's at defensive tackle at this moment because all the true nice defensive tackles you like have already been signed. Tier Tart, if you want to know, but I mean, nothing crazy that I've seen. Let me know if you have a different opinion on that, but nothing really crazy that's like, hey, like this would honestly be a smart move for depth to pick up. But I could be wrong about the guys. So yeah, let me know again. Like I said, I've talked about center, I've talked about quarterback, I've talked about defense tackle. Let's get into the linebackers. They actually need true linebackers, inside linebackers, not outside. Patrick Queen, Joey Juzwell, Bobby Wagner went off. Zach Cunningham's not bad. Quan Alexander's not bad either. I think Quan might get a vet minimum. Shaquille Leonard too. Like these aren't like there are still some guys you could get for depth at the linebacker market who bring experience. And I honestly think that like you're probably getting Quan, and if you want to draft somebody, you can. But if you want to pick up some free agency, you're probably getting vet minimums on these guys. Like these guys aren't going to cost you a lot. I would be surprised if they costed more than two. Like I'm just being honest, and they provide nice veteran experience at depth position. So it's really nice. Probably going to cost around $2.4 million, somewhere around there. And that will leave you with officially, if I can do the quick math, $8,898,308 left in cap, and that's signing both linebackers. Like I said before, there's still centers available. A guy who I really liked, if I go back to centers, a guy who I really liked that was young, that was still under his 30s was Will Clapp, but he got signed. Clapp's a guy who has a lot of experience. Mason Cole, I don't know. That Steelers defense was kind of iffy. There's nothing really out here that's like, yeah, let's go after that guy. He's going to provide nice depth for us. That's really the tough position here. And also, I would be surprised if Connor Williams' market's starting to fall a little bit too. But I don't think he's going to sign for about $5 million, roughly, give or take. Because you still need a cap to sign, unless you were to rearrange that contract in a way to help out with your team. So getting into the draft, of course, this was the draft previously with Caleb Williams at quarterback, Roma Dunze at receiver, Dominic Puni at guard, and Tyler Davis at defensive tackle. Now that things have changed up, we do end up having an extra pick with about roughly $9 million in cap left. To go to the Bears. And we should let the draft play out. I will not be trading back since we did address everything. Of course, right now I'm going with the consensus number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams. Not going to trade around. Kind of looking at it now that we're sitting here. Well, we address receiver. Defensive tackle still in need. Do you reach on that guy? Do you look at center as well? Since we did address guard with either Pete or Lincoln Tomlinson or Cody Whitehair, whoever you like, if you want to bring a guy like that back on a cheaper deal, that's also a possibility. Kind of looking at the defensive tackles right now. Defensive tackles, you could get Jazeer Newton or Johnny Newton or Byron Murphy, whoever you think is better. You could go for that. Centers will probably go late in the first round, I imagine. Jackson Powers Johnson would also be available. I think you might have a shot in getting a solid, maybe Tanner Moriarty or Van Pran out of Georgia. I think that's also a possibility. Georgia's offensive line was not that bad. Georgia's offensive line was pretty decent last year. But in this case, I will be getting Johnny Newton just to really fortify that defensive line and just really put that defense to another level. And, of course, I will be going center with the next pick. And, like I said, Van Pran, look, this guy he's going to be one of the top centers going off the board. This is a guy I haven't really talked about. He's more technically sound. He has a nice power at the first level, and he also takes really good angles to get to the second level. And he's just a guy who just doesn't pop off the charts right now, and that's kind of a thing. But he's going to be a suitable starter for you with a potential upside as well. I won't say I'm not gonna lie, he does have potential upside. It's just he hasn't literally popped off and shown big flashes and crazy stuff like centers in front of him. Um, and that's when we kind of ended the draft. So we addressed everything. There's also an extra pick. You could go with the position you want to address even more, but you do have an extra pick. You could trade that up. Maybe you package 75 and 122 and see how far you can get up into the third, or maybe even break up into the second, late in the second. That's also a possibility. But needless to say, that's kind of how I have the Bears roster. I know it's shorter. It's just they don't have a lot they can really do and maneuver around. I did talk about some possibilities. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you guys think. Bears fans, let me know. Inter-division fans that compete against the Bears, what do you think? Do you agree with hey, yeah, not being biased or anything? Yeah, that's how the Bears should get better. That's kind of their weakness that we see consistently. Or teams who are facing the Bears fans, hey, are there any players that you're kind of competing with? Let me know that you want in the draft. Let me know. Let me know also what team you want for. Other than that, thank you all for watching, and I will talk to y'all next time.